We're doing Lear. I sent the video, which I'm pretty sure got through, or videos, Act 1. But as I was saying to a couple of you a moment ago, I still want to do all of Act 1, but we can't because we don't have time. But I do want to go back briefly, and I'm just going to point out several key lines and link them with some stuff that's going to come later. For example, I mean, we're going to primarily be in Act 2 and maybe get up into Act 3 today, and hopefully finish Lear on Tuesday, I think. We'll see. But I want to very, very briefly, Act 1, Scene 1. When Lear first shows up, not quite his opening speech, but close. He gives us a clue to something about the play. When he says, I need a marker. That's not what he says. When he says, meantime we shall express our darker purpose. Okay? What does Lear mean by darker purpose? Leave the adjective off and just look at purpose first. Our, he's using the royal we, his purpose. What's his purpose for calling everybody together there? Comes out very clearly in just a few moments. He's going to divide the kingdom, right? He's going to abdicate, okay? He's going to abdicate, divide the kingdom among his daughters, and so that he can, as he puts it, unburden, crawl towards death. Okay? But he says it's a darker purpose. Now, within the immediate context of that line, the darker word simply means unbeknownst to you at this moment. Once he announces the purpose, it's no longer darker because it's in the light. It's been shed forth, okay? But I think there's another idea there. I think there's another element to that Shakespeare's kind of going to weave throughout the rest of the play. And it's the darker purpose of human existence. Or, the way the philosophers put it, why am I here? Because we're going to see Lear and Gloucester primarily really wrestle with the question of human existence. What is our purpose? In much the same way, that's why I always try to do them together, Hamlet does. You know, we didn't talk about it, but Hamlet had a line with Horatio where he says, there's a divinity that shapes our ends. Rough hew them as we will. There's a divinity that shapes our ends. Ends there doesn't just mean the final moment of life. It means our purpose, our total reason for existing. Rough hew them as we will. That is, make the decisions, do the actions, etc., that we do throughout our lives. That's the rough hewing of our life. But Hamlet's saying that rough hewing is all going on within a larger, darker purpose, the thing that's hidden from our understanding. Okay? So, our darker purpose, Lear initially means, surface level, simply means, I'm going to divide the kingdom. Okay? The real darker purpose is, why am I here? Because Lear's going to wrestle with that. It's possibly going to be one of the things that causes him to lose his mind. Okay? So we find out he's going to divide his kingdom. Now, bear in mind this idea that we've discussed before, the great chain of being, okay, which puts within the human realm the king at the top, you go all the way down in the chain, and you have the serf or peasant at the lowest end, and you've got all the links. In that idea that the Elizabethans had, a king cannot abdicate. You can't wake up one morning and go, I'm tired, I'm old, I'm going to stop and let Junior take it over, or let my daughters take it over. There's only one person who can do that for you, and that's God. How does God do that? He kills you. Or maybe Richard III does it for you and takes care of others in line, so to speak. But a person cannot abdicate. They cannot wake up and say, I don't want to be anymore. Because that whole doctrine, that whole idea of divinely inspired and divinely appointed kings, the divine right of kings and such. So even though Lear is not written in the Middle Ages, is not set in the Middle Ages, Lear is set way before the birth of Christ, pre-Christian Britain. Lear, by the way, also spelled that way, and with two L's, is an old Celtic king, mythological figure, okay? Shakespeare has two plays that play upon old Celtic mythological stuff. This one in Cymbeline, okay? So Lear's violating that by the very fact of doing that, of violating, of breaking that link. He does the thing that Hamlet discusses. Time is out of joint. Oh, alas, that I was born to make it right. Hamlet realizes because his father's been killed, he's got to be the thing to fill the link, okay? Which is what's going to cause his death. Right. So you get those ideas. And notice how Lear says, unburdened crawl toward death. Why crawl? Remember Jaques' 7 stages of man speech? 7 ages of man? Well, the last one's not about crawling. It's about what? Walking with a cane. Okay? Crawling reduces humanity to what? Think not, human realm, but think angelic, human, beastly. Back beast-like, walking on all fours. Okay? So we see the rest of that first scene. Lear doesn't like what his youngest daughter has to say. Kent comes to Cordelia's defense. Kent is Lear's strongest supporter. And Lear orders Kent out of his sight, line 158. And Kent says, see better, Lear. You don't see well. See better, Lear. Let me still remain the true blank of thine eye. Your gloss tells you, the means to enable you to see better. Blank means the white center of the target. He's also saying, take your fire, release your fury on me, not on your youngest daughter. And when he says, see better, when Kent says that to Lear, what's he saying? Your youngest daughter doesn't love you least. If you saw, you would perceive that. Because what do the 2 oldest daughters do? Oh, Daddy, I love you this much. And then the next one goes, yeah, but I love you this much. And Cordelia says, what? I love you how? As a daughter ought to love her father. No more nor less. And what's really the coup de grace that she delivers? How do we know that she actually loves her father more? She's not married yet, right? That's why France and Burgundy are there. They're trying to woo her. She says, if I say I love you as much as my sisters do, who are married, then how much do they really love their husbands? Because if their love for you is all, then they can't love their husbands very much. But I'm going to love my husband. So I'm going to love my husband as I ought to love my husband, and I'm going to love you as I ought to love you. Meaning, I will show you all filial honor and gratitude. For Lear, that's not enough. Why? What's wrong with Lear? He's narcissistic. Another S in there. Narcissistic. Okay? What else? He's really old. Okay? I mean, he mentions in here the year, I think it is, of 80. 80. Okay? So he's 80 years old. Not saying it happens to all 80 years old. I've known some 80-year-old people who are sharper than 20-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 57, you know. Okay? But a lot of 80-year-olds kind of start to lose their marbles. Okay? And I'm going to suggest that Lear might actually be suffering from Alzheimer's. They didn't have the term. Alzheimer's wasn't created until the early 20th century. Okay? The phrase wasn't. Just means old homers. But all of Lear's actions, my mom died of Alzheimer's, my dad has Alzheimer's, they follow to a T the symptoms of Alzheimer's. Okay? If you want to just call it dementia, you can do that too. But notice the difference between Lear's madness and Hamlet's madness. Hamlet's, it seems to me, and if you're going to write a paper on Hamlet's madness, you don't have to argue this. But Hamlet's madness, it seems to me, is entirely a construct. That is, Hamlet's acting the whole time. Okay? So, see better, Lear, Kent says, line 159 or so, and let me be the true blank of thine eye. Okay? Skip over a bunch to Lear has left. Cordelia essentially says to her two older sisters, you better really love him. You better treat him nicely because I'm leaving. I'm going off to France. You know, he still loves me at least. Such. And Goneril says, after France and Cordelia leave, page 1211, line 293 or so, you see how full of changes his age is. Now that means one day Lear's one way, another day he's different. The observation we have made of it hath not been little. That is, and we've really noticed, Dad's not the same as he used to be. He always loved our sister most. So they're telling us there. Cordelia used to be the apple of his eye. And with what poor judgment he hath now cast her off appears too grossly. The judgment is what is too gross. The poor judgment. Wow. He's lost his mind. Regan, or Reagan, depending on how you want to pronounce it. 'Tis the infirmity of his age. This is caused by the sickness of his age. But then she adds this. Yet he hath ever but slenderly known himself. I think I've mentioned this before. Anybody remember what was inscribed on the stone outside the ancient oracle at Delphi that Socrates went to and that Oedipus went to? 2 words. Know thyself, or yourself if you want. Know thyself. Regan says here, he hath ever, he's always slenderly known himself. We don't talk about people knowing themselves. Today this would be described as, Lear's not very self-reflexive. He doesn't have a very good interior life. He doesn't think much. Okay? You're entirely right. He loves himself. He's an egotist. But that's not knowing oneself. Goneril, the best and soundest of his time hath been but rash. Even when he was in his firmest, clearest state of mind, he's always been rash. That, if you need an Aristotelian tragic flaw, Aristotle said in his book Poetics, where he described ancient Greek tragedy, every tragic hero suffers from a hamartia, okay, which in the New Testament, this word gets translated into modern English as sin. Okay? It's not sin. Shakespeare, Aristotle called it this. It usually gets translated as, in Aristotle's Poetics, as tragic flaw. That is, there is some character defect in the tragic hero that causes him or her to do the things that bring the tragedy down upon them. Oedipus's tragic flaw is he's rash. He is impulsive. He does not think before he acts. Lear, the daughter has just said, is rash. If Hamlet has one of these, what is it? Is it that he's rash? What's Hamlet repeatedly say about himself? I wait too long. I think too much. Conscience doth make cowards of us all. Well, conscience is overthinking something. Okay? Be a great paper topic, by the way. You know, the tragic flaw in whichever character you want. So, go on a little bit more. We're going to skip pretty much Act 1, Scene 2. Yeah. But if you haven't read it, really read, Edmund's parts close and carefully, because, man, Edmund's one of Shakespeare's great villains. You got it. Richard III, Edmund, Iago. Those are pretty much Shakespeare's three really, really great villains. I mean, these guys are people who just revel in being rotten, sons of you-know-whats. They just love being evil, okay? And that's why you get that great speech at the beginning where he says, "Now, God, stand up for bastards." Because he's a bastard. Both literally and figuratively, okay? So we see and hear he's going to plot against his father and brother and such. Pick up with Act 1, Scene 4, page 1216. Lear and the Fool are talking, and Lear tells the Fool to teach me, about line 136 or so. Because the Fool asks the question, "Dost thou know the difference, my boy, between a bitter fool and a sweet one?" "No, lad, teach me." "The Lord that counselled thee to give away thy land, come place him here by me, do thou for him stand." So, place the Lord who told you to give away your land, to come here and stand by you. You take his place. "The sweet and bitter fool will presently appear. The one in motley here, the other found out there. You, Lear, are the bitter fool." Why? Because now he's reaping the consequences of his foolish actions. Okay, so what did he do? He divided up his kingdom, right? He was going to divide it into thirds, essentially equal thirds. And because Cordelia now doesn't get any of it, he divides it into halves, essentially, among Goneril and Regan. But he does it on what proviso? What's the caveat that they have to agree to? For 1 month, he'll spend with one daughter, he and all of his retinue, and then another month he'll go spend with the other daughter. That's the catch, okay? What are we going to see happen? They're going to say no. Okay? He still gets to keep all of his retinue, and he still gets what that goes along with the job of being king. It's like, I still going to have Air Force One. in Marine One in Camp David, and I get to stay in all the best hotels, but he doesn't have to do what? Make all the decisions. I don't have all the hard work. I get the perks, but not the responsibility. Okay? But the daughters kind of say no. Okay? What will be the problem Lear will confront? How can he enforce his proviso, his caveat on them? Well, he can't, because he no longer has the name and the authority of king. Okay? So, the fool calls him a fool for giving up his kingdom. Dost thou call me fool, boy? Notice, Lear's he's not toying there. He's angry. All thy other titles thou hast given away. That thou was born with. You've given away your title of king. Why? By giving up the office and giving up the kingdom, you're not king anymore. Which is kind of interesting, because I kind of wonder if if Shakespeare would say, for example, well, let me use this as an example. When King Edward, when Edward VII abdicated the throne in 1936 so that he could marry Wallis Simpson, the American divorcee, he was no longer called King of England. See, we still call President Obama, and President Bush, and President Carter, even though Carter hasn't been president for nearly 40 years. He's still given that title. He still has Secret Service protection. So does his wife, so does his daughter, I believe. Okay? In the British system, if you abdicate the kingship, you're no longer, that people don't call you king. When he gave up the kingship, he became Duke of Cornwall, I think it was. Okay? So the fool here says, you don't have any other titles but the one you were born with. And that's, you're damn fool. Why? Because you gave up all those titles. And the Kent, who is now in disguise, okay, Kent says, this is not altogether fool, my lord. In other words, kind of like what Claudius says about Hamlet. That's not madness. This way madness does not lie. Or what Polonius says, though this be madness, there is method in it. Kent's saying, got you there. That has to sting. Okay? So they keep talking, and the fool keeps kind of offering these little jabs. Now, keep in mind, why can the fool do this?
It was considered bad luck to harm a fool.
Considered bad luck to harm a fool because the fool was considered, quote unquote, touched by God. Okay, and therefore were allowed to say and do things other people wouldn't. Okay? So, Goneril comes in. And she and Lear talk, and the fool. And Lear says, 223, does any here know me? This is not Lear. Does Lear walk thus, speak thus? Where are his eyes? Either his notion weakens, or his discernings are lethargied. His notion, intellectual power, your gloss tells you. So either his intellect weakens, or his discernings, his ability to distinguish between things, are lethargied. Lear is telling us that about himself. Waking? No. Who is it that can tell me who I am? Well, the who I am is all part of this. What I am. And notice what the fool says. Because this takes us back to substance and shadow, substance and dream that we heard Hamlet talk about and that we heard Theseus talk about in Midsummer Night's Dream. The fool says, you are Lear's shadow. Why? Why the shadow? Why not Lear?
It's kind of like Lear, but it doesn't have all of them.
It looks kind of like Lear, but that ain't Lear. Lear, in his right mind, would never have done the things that Lear has done. Okay? Lear, I would learn that. I would be taught that. What do you mean, Lear's shadow? For by the marks of sovereignty, knowledge, and reason, I should be false persuaded I had daughters. That is, a shadow can't have daughters, right? Because a shadow is insubstantial. Okay? Lear is saying, I seem to remember I had daughters, which they will make an obedient father. That is, your daughters will make you obedient to them. Turning what? The natural order of things. Because this is, in the political realm. Let's change this to the familial realm. Top, bottom. Bottom, children. Get all patriarchal, especially in the English system. Father at the top, then mother, then sons, if there are any, beginning with the eldest, then daughters, beginning with the eldest. So who's supposed to obey who? Go back to A Midsummer Night's Dream. What's Aegeus' problem? He has an uppity daughter who won't listen to him, Hermia. She won't marry the man he wants her to marry. Okay? What's your name again? He says to Goneril. This admiration, sir, is much of the savior of other your new pranks. Notice, she is assuming what about Lear? She says this admiration. Well, your gloss tells you this wonderment, but it has two words in parentheses. Why does Bevington put guise of in parentheses? It's not crystal clear that Lear is pretending to wonder who she is. He might really be looking at his daughter and be going, I recognize you. Who are you again? See, this is an aspect of Alzheimer's. Early Alzheimer's. I mean, not even somebody who's far gone. A couple of years before my mom died, I was out there visiting. I was doing the dishes one night. She comes up, how long have we known you? And I was a pretty long time. Since my birth. I didn't say that. I just, because any time I or another member of my family would say something that would make her realize I've got Alzheimer's, that really becomes unsettling. So she says, this admiration, sir, is much of the savor to understand my purposes of your new pranks. I do beseech you to understand my purposes right, as you are old and reverend should be wise. She's speaking to him how? Like I would speak to Bjorn. Okay? Rationally, clearly, she thinks he should be able to follow and understand her. If he has this, he can't. Which is, the more and more I think about this, the more and more I think Shakespeare has created a character with Alzheimer's, with what we today call Alzheimer's. I mean, the symptoms are amazing. So she goes on and talks about what? You got 100 knights. What are these knights doing, according to Goneril? Partying and reveling, messing up the house. She says, you have too many. Lear, fine, I'm out of here. I'll go to your sister's. Okay? But before he, leaves, what's he do? Like Hamlet with Ophelia, he gives her a blessing, a curse, right? And what a curse. Shakespeare's really good at curses. Okay? We're not going to talk about it. Go to end of 1-5, because we just don't have it. We're trying to get to Act 2. So at the end of 1-5, we have Lear, Kent, disguised as Keys, that C-A-I-U-S. In British English, that's pronounced keys. Okay? In Old Latin, it's Caius, if I remember right. And the Fool, they're talking back and forth. And Lear's just going on and off about daughters and such. Line 39. Okay? Lear says, monster ingratitude. That is, ingratitude is a monster. Children should show gratitude towards their parents. Fool. If thou wert my fool, nuncle, I'd have thee beaten for being old before thy time. What? What do you mean? How am I old before my time? Thou shouldst not have been old till thou hadst been wise. What's the fool mean? What supposedly comes with old age? Wisdom. Unless you have this. Which is partly, again, think of Jaques' 7 Ages of Man speech. Sans teeth, sans wits, sans everything. I don't know, maybe Shakespeare's father had this. Oh, let me not be mad, Lear says. Not mad, sweet heaven. Now, mad in Shakespeare always means crazy. American English is where mad means angry. British English, it never means angry. It always means crazy, lunatic. Let me not be mad, not mad. Keep me in temper. Keep me grounded. Who's he talking to? Sweet heaven. Is it sweet heaven because that's where sweet Jesus lives? No. Because the place that pre-Christian. I mean, we're going to hear references to gods. I mean, we didn't talk about it. If you watched the lecture, if you read it, we hear Edmund talk with Gloucester, and Gloucester essentially says, bad things happen to people. Why? Because of the influence of the stars and the planets. Astrological causes. Okay? Edmund essentially says, what a load of tosh. What a bunch of nonsense. As if I'm a rotten bastard because I was born under the tail of the goat, Capricorn. He goes, no, I'm a rotten bastard because I want to be a rotten bastard. I want to kill my father, take his property, and my brother. Okay? I mean, he's even worse than Richard III. He and Iago, they're kind of nose and nose for who wins the most evil, rotten bastard villain in Shakespeare's plays. Keep me in my temper. I would not be mad. I would. The would there means desired. I desire to not be mad. I don't want to go crazy. Well, go back to the Alzheimer's thing. When Alzheimer's first begins, or dementia, when it first begins, if someone's given the diagnosis that they have it, they are aware kind of when it comes and goes initially. After a while, the moments of clarity are totally gone. This is a moment of clarity. This is Lear going, no, I gotta hold it together, as much as he can. So, look at Act 2. Notice the stage direction. Enter bastard. Oh, I mean Edmund, with Curran and several others, okay? So, what does Edmund do? What does he trick his father into thinking?
His other son wants to kill him.
That Edgar wants to kill him. That Edgar wants to kill Gloucester so that he can get the inheritance. Because Edgar's the lawful born, Edgar's the eldest son, and he's born of Gloucester's wife. Okay? So, Gloucester is persuaded by Edmund, and then Cornwall, Regan, and attendants come in. Okay? And they talk with Gloucester and such about the king and about his son and such. We're going to pick up with 2-2. Kent comes in. Notice he's still disguised. He's disguised all throughout the rest of the play. He doesn't need to be, because Lear wouldn't recognize him. Lear doesn't recognize his daughters most of the time. Okay? So he comes in, and Oswald, a steward of Goneril, I believe it is, comes in and talks to Kent, and then he asks Kent, "What dost thou know me for?" And Kent gives a pretty long description of what he knows him for. A knave, a rascal, an eater of broken meats, a base, proud, shallow, beggarly, three-suited, lily-livered, 100-pound, filthy worsted stocking knave, lily-livered, action-taking, horse son, glass-gazing, super-serviceable, finical rogue, one trunk inheriting slave, one that would be a bawd in way of good service, a bawd, a procurer of flesh in way of good service, and art nothing but the composition of a knave, beggar, coward, pander, and the son and heir of a mongrel bitch. Now, that's a pretty good put down. To call somebody the son and heir of a mongrel, not even, a prize Westminster AKC winning champion, show dog, one whom I will beat into clamorous whining if thou deniest the least syllable of thy addition. That is, of anything I've said about you. Why, what a monstrous fellow art thou, thus to rail on one that is neither known of thee or Notice, Oswald doesn't recognize Kent because he's in disguise. So Kent beats him. And Edmund comes in because Oswald's crying, ho, ho, murder, murder, And they put Kent in the stocks. Now, when they put Kent in the stocks, do they know he's Kent? No, they don't. Kent's there to deliver a message. Okay? He comes on behalf of the king. What's the problem with that? Well, the king has no authority. So you might as well just say, I come on behalf of Fred. Because the king can't do anything to hurt his daughters anymore. So they put him in the stocks. And Gloucester, line 143 or so, begs Cornwall not to put Kent in stocks. Okay? Yeah, okay, he shouldn't have beat your servant. But the king is master, he'll check him for it. That is, he'll upbraid him, he'll discipline him. But you shouldn't do this to a servant of the king. Cornwall doing this, now that he knows Keyes is a servant of the king, by putting the servant in the stocks, he's essentially flipping the bird at the king. Gloucester realizes that. So even though the king's given up all authority, Gloucester still, he's an old traditionalist, so to speak. So Gloucester says, I'll entreat for thee. Kent, don't worry about it. I'm tired. I'm going to go to sleep. Okay? So he pulls out a letter and he reads the letter and then he falls asleep. Now, you got to imagine falling asleep in the stocks, because the stocks can take different forms. It can be the kind of stock that you stand in and put your head and hands in, or it can be the kind of stock that your legs stick in and your arms and head stick in, which is really uncomfortable. Have your legs out in front of you and your arms, so you're pulling against one part or another of your body, especially if you fall asleep. Okay. Edgar comes in.
How long will that lady be in there usually?
It varied. This is several hours according to the play. There are accounts of people being in the stocks for days. No food. And one of the reasons they do that is, the stocks are in a public place. So people come up and throw stuff at you. it's very public shaming. I mean, we think our public shaming, our social media shaming is really bad. And it is really bad. People have lost lives, jobs, etc. The stocks were, pretty bad for their day and time too. Okay. Edgar comes in. He realizes what has happened, that he's been maligned. Okay. And so Edgar disappears, and poor Tom of Bedlam is born. Tom of Bedlam. This comes from the name Bethlehem. It was a hospital in late medieval, Shakespeare's day, London. It was the insane asylum. Okay? The various places that this existed in London, it's no longer there, it hasn't been there for a long time, but the various places that this existed, there were 2 or 3 different locations, are supposed to be today, according to people who believe in this and talk about this and stuff, among the most haunted places in all of London. One of those places is the modern day Imperial War Museum, which is a fantastic museum to go to. But that's on the site of, I think it's the original site of Bedlam, and they're supposed to be just ghosts everywhere, around there at night and things like that. So Edgar's gonna act like a crazy person. So we have one person who's not acting crazy, becoming crazy. We have one person who's acting crazy. We have a bunch of people who don't think they're acting crazy, but are kind of acting crazy. Goneril, Reagan, Cornwall, Albany. Acting crazy in the sense that they're going against the established order of things. Edmund, also. So, Lear and the Fool come in with a gentleman, and Lear is told about Kent, and then they come up and they see Kent. Okay? Lines 26 and following, Act 2, Scene 4. Kent tells them what happened. And Lear says, line 55. Oh, how this mother swells up toward my heart. Mother, line 55 and 56. Hysterica passio, hysteria, giving the sensation of choking or suffocating. Mother, the way he's using it, if you've ever bought something like vinegar and let it sit for a while, it gets that thing down on the bottom. That's called the mother. It's kind of what gives it the soury taste and such. So Lear is saying this mother, this source of passion, is welling up. Okay? Notice, it swells up toward my heart. Well, what will it do if it reaches his heart? It'll burst. And if his heart bursts, in the heart of the seat of passions, then he'll really go hysterica passio. Full hysterics. It seems to me, Lear realizes, I'm not quite right. And he can sense when he's losing it, which is why he says, hysterica passio, down thou climbing sorrow, thy elements below. The spleen, it's got to get pushed down. I got to stay in control. Okay? Where is this daughter? Notice, what's the cause of the hysterica passio? My daughter. My daughter. So if he can deal with the daughter, he can deal with the madness. Can't really, but that's what he thinks he can. Okay? So, let's see here. Lear and the Fool talk back and forth. They talk about ants and such. Pick up with 104. I take that back. 102. Lear's asking, do they know I'm here? They're at Cornwall and Goneril's house. Are they aware I'm outside? Tell the hot duke that no, not yet. Maybe he is not well. Infirmity does still neglect all office whereto our health, is bound. Look at your gloss. Sickness always prompts us to neglect all duties which in good health we are bound to perform. Now, this is Lear showing a little bit of compassion or empathy for the Duke. He's saying maybe he isn't well. And because he isn't well, he's not doing what he normally would do, which is come and answer the door. Well, for someone who is sick himself, that's pretty magnanimous on Lear's part. We are not ourselves when nature, being oppressed, commands the mind to suffer with the body. Look at that again. We are not ourselves when nature, the body, being oppressed, commands the mind to suffer with the body. I am not I when my body is so in pain, is so oppressed that the mind has to suffer with the body. Hamlet is not Hamlet if Hamlet has wronged Laertes. Hamlet says. It was not Hamlet that wronged Laertes, it was Hamlet's madness. Therefore, it wasn't Hamlet. It was my madness that wronged Laertes. So I didn't harm you, so you don't have any beef with me, Laertes. Are we cool with that? Are we square? And Laertes is kind of like, whatever. I'm still going to kill you. I'll forbear. That is, Lear saying, I won't press him right now. And am fallen out with my more headier will to take the indisposed and sickly fit for the sound man. Now, when Lear says, I am fallen out with my more headier will, and now disapprove of my more impetuous will, in having rashly supposed that those who are indisposed and sickly were in sound health. Sorry, I shouldn't have assumed that they were well. But what else is he suggesting there? I am fallen out with my headier will. Well, headier can not only mean impetuous and rash, it can mean from the head. My intellectual desires, my intellectual volition, I am fallen out from. He's kind of saying, I'm of two minds. I don't know which is the right course of action to take. So he looks at Kent. Why is he sitting here? Wherefore should he sit here? This act persuades me that this remotion of the Duke and her is practice only. Practice. Practice for what? That's supposed to be me, Lear thinks. They're doing this to kind of steel themselves, to steel their wills to doing it to me. Give me my servant for it, that is, release him. Gloucester, I would have all well betwixt you. Betwixt who? Lear, his daughter, and the Duke. Notice, Gloucester's trying to be a peacekeeper. He's trying to, calm down. They've got a cold. They've got an illness inside. That's why they haven't come. Lied through his teeth, by the way. Lear, oh me, my heart, my rising heart. Down, boy, down. He feels it. What does Hamlet say? In his interview with his mother, he refers to, this distracted globe. Distracted. drawn away from, to be pulled towards, means I don't have focus anymore. Okay? There is an element of madness to Hamlet, but it's not the kind of madness that results in everybody's deaths. Okay? So, Cornwall, Regan, Gloucester, others come in. They talk with Hamlet, talk with Lear. Lear offers more curses. We're going to skip a bunch. Page 1227, line 202. So Cornwall says, I put him in the stocks. His own disorders deserve much less advancement. You? Did you? He can't believe it. You knew he was my servant, and you still put him in the stock. Line 202 of Act 2, Scene 4. I pray you, Father, Regan says, being weak, seem so. Okay. Being weak. You are weak. Seem. Act like it. Because how's he acting? What's he do at the beginning with the darker purpose? He gives up the throne. He gives up the power. How's he acting? Like he has the power. Like he has the throne. You're weak now. You have no authority. Therefore, act that way. That's what she's telling him. If till the expiration of your month you will return and sojourn with my sister. You're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be at her house. So, once that month is up, then you can come here. Dismiss half your train, then come to me. His train is, he has 100 knights. Has 100 knights in his retinue. She says, when your month is up there, get rid of 50 of them, and then you can come stay with me. I'm from home. I don't have the food and everything. Go, no. What? 50 men dismissed? No. I rather abjure all ruse and choose to wage against the enmity of the air, which is what he will do beginning Act 3. He will live out in the storm. Okay? To be a comrade with the wolf and owl, etc., etc. Okay? Goneril, at your choice. That is, if that's what you want to do, old man. I pray thee, daughter, do not make me mad. I will not trouble thee, my child. Farewell, we'll no more meet, no more see one another, but yet thou art my flesh, my blood, my daughter, or rather a disease that's in my flesh, which I must needs call mine. Thou art a boil, a plague sore, or embossed carbuncle in my corrupted blood. You are my aids, daughter, is what he's saying. Okay? I can stay with Regan. I and my 100 knights. Whoa, no, you can't. She says, I'm not ready for you. Stay with my sister. Line 236. For those that mingle reason with your passion must be content to think you old, and so, Lear, do you really mean this? Is this well spoken? Why do you need 50 followers? Right? He's not king anymore. What should you need of more? Yea, or even so many. And when she starts doing this, this is elusive, A-L-L-U-S-I-V-E. I think of Abraham in the Old Testament when God's getting ready to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. And Abraham's like, what if there's 50, righteous people? I won't destroy it for 50. 45, do I hear 40? 35, 30, 20. What if there are 10? I won't destroy it if there are 10. Okay? So she starts off at 100 and she starts going down. How in one house should many people under two commands hold amity? How in one house, if you with 50 men and we with our men, how are we going to keep them from fighting? Goneril, why not, just a suggestion, why not receive attendance from those that she calls servants? Or from mine? What idea is she throwing out there? Dismiss all your servants, all your retinue. Well, Regan, that's a good idea. Why not, my lord? If then they chance to slack thee, we could control them. If our servants didn't serve you properly, well, we could punish them. So she says, I entreat you to bring but 5 and 20. So we've started at 100. Now we're down to 25. We just cut it in fourth. B, to no more will I give place or notice. So when you do come to my place, I won't let you have more than 25. I gave you all. Notice he gets cut off. I gave you all, dash, and in good time you gave it. What's the end in good time telling us about Regan? What does she really mean by that? And you took your time doing it. When should he have given his all, according to Regan? A lot longer ago. Put this in modern real-world perspectives. This is like, Charles showing up at Buckingham Palace when Queen Elizabeth's there. I'm going to step down now, Charles. She's like 99 years old. No, take it back. She's 90. Like 90 years old. Charles is 75 or so. You took your time, mother. Because how long is he going to get to reign as king? Well, if he's like his parents, probably a good long time, because he'll probably live to be close to 100 years old. Okay? Her point is, you should have done this a long time ago. Notice he continues his thought. I gave you all, made you my guardians, my depositories, but kept a reservation to be followed with such a number. What must I come to with 5? Regan said you so? Yep, no more. Those wicked creatures yet do look well favored when others are more wicked. Not being the worst stands in some rank, so he turns to Goneril. I'll go with you. Thy 50 doth yet count twice. 25. No. Goneril. 263. What need you 5 and 20, my lord? 10 or 5 to follow in a house where twice so many have a command to tend you. Why do you need 25? When I have twice that amount, who can serve you? Or does she mean, why do you need 5 when I have twice that amount, who can serve you? Regan, what need 1? Why do you need even 1 servant? He was king. I don't know if you've ever watched the Netflix series The Crown. Watch it, just a couple episodes. Especially an episode where the queen gets up in the morning or something. And all of the various, lady waiting servants come in and do all the clothing ritual. Not enough duct tape in the world to keep my head taped together. To imagine that kind of life, where everything is done for you. That's what Lear's used to. And they're saying, what do you need to have anybody do anything for you? Why are they saying that? Because now, no longer king, you are nobody. And Lear gives one of his greatest speeches. Oh, reason not the need. Our basest of beggars. And it's interesting that he brings up beggars, because later on, when Lear is out in the storm, he's going to think of beggars out in the storm. And he's going to realize something about when he was king. And it's going to be one of those thunderclap moments of lucidity and clarity in the madness. Our basest beggars are in the poorest thing superfluous. The poorest thing, the littlest thing they have, is superfluous. What's superfluous mean? Unnecessary. Okay? Allow not nature more than nature needs. Man's life is cheap as beasts. That is, man is nothing more than a beast. Why? Well, what is it nature, the body, needs? Food, water, rest. How are our bodies different from, I don't know, my Great Pyrenees dog's body? Well, it's covered in a thick old coat of fur, and it loves going outside when it's 15 degrees and just staying out there. Me? If I were to go out there without any clothing on, I wouldn't last long. So, he's saying, remove more than need. We are nothing more than base animals. Okay? Thou art a lady. He points to his daughter. Notice he doesn't say thou art a woman or a girl. Why does he say lady? It's a title. It's a title. A lady is a particular kind of woman. A lady is a woman who has been accustomed to a certain kind of treatment, certain kind of clothing, certain kind of house, certain kinds of food. If only to go warm were gorgeous, why, nature needs not what thou gorgeous wearest. That dress you have on is gorgeous. It's beautiful. If all you need is to be warm, you don't need that. All you need is burlap sack, which scarcely keeps thee warm. Notice what he's telling her about the dress she has on. And it's made out of something like satin or silk, which is not warm. Okay? But for true need, oh, heavens, give me patience. Patience I need. What's patience? Someone tells you, be patient. What does that really mean? Wait. Why are you being told to wait, though? If you're being told to wait and you don't want to wait, why don't you want to wait? You want to get the thing you're waiting for, right? Be patient really means, you're hungry. Dinner time's not for, 10 hours. Be patient. Don't eat anything between now and then. That means suffer. Suffer. Endure it. Okay? So, I need to endure this. I need to suffer this. Heavens, give me patience. Give me the ability to endure. You see, notice he's no longer addressing his daughters. You see me here, you gods. A poor old man, as full of grief as age, wretched in both. He's wretched in grief and he's wretched in age. If it be you, the gods, that stir these daughters' hearts against their father, fool me not so much to bear it tamely. That is, don't make me such a fool as to bear it tamely. Let me be like Dylan Thomas's speaker. Let me not go gently into that good night. Let me rage against the dying of the light. He's saying, if this is because of you, let him have it. Touch me, you gods, with noble anger, and let not women's weapons, water drops, tears stain my man's cheeks. I don't want to cry. Don't you make me cry. Why? He wants to kill his daughters at this point. He's saying, I want to be done with them. Maybe not literally. No, you unnatural hags. Now he's back to his daughters. He's not calling the gods hags. You unnatural. Why is he calling them unnatural? Unnatural means going against nature. How are they going against nature? Think of, the great chain of being here. In the family, who's at the top? The father is. They are going against their father. That's going against nature. But he calls them hags. Usually what kind of women are hags? Louder? Old women. Keep going. What occupation? Witches. Okay? You unnatural hags, I will have such revenges on you both that all the world shall. I will do such things. What they are, I don't know yet, but they shall be the terrors of the earth. He hasn't thought through what he's going to do, but when I do, you're going to be sorry. You think I'll weep? No, I'll not weep. And what are we told? Off stage, somebody has a big old piece of sheet metal, and they go, and it goes, there's storm and tempest outside. Why? Because Lear's mind is now in correspondence with the external world. Just as there is storm and tempest in the natural world, there is storm and tempest in Lear's world. This is when Lear loses it. There's no more madness pushing it down. I have full cause of weeping, but this heart shall break into 100,000 flaws, or ere I'll weep. O fool, I shall go mad. And he leaves. Shall means I will go mad. I am going crazy here. Cornwall, there's got to be a storm out there. Let's go back inside now. Okay. Gloucester comes in. Says, king's in high rage. They're like, where's he going? He's calling for a horse. I don't know where he's going. Regan. O sir, to willful men, the injuries that they themselves procure must be their schoolmasters. The injuries that they procure, that is, the injuries that they bring upon themselves, must what? Teach them. It's called learning from the school of hard knocks. The hard knocks are the knocks that you cause upon yourself. Shut up your doors. That is, shut your doors to Lear. He is attended with a desperate train, and what they may incense him to, being apt to have his ear abused, wisdom bids fear. We got to lock him out because, in this state of mind, you don't know what he might incite them to. Act 3, Scene 1. It's still storming. The storm almost has the same kind of effect, but let me rephrase that. The storm is almost like a character, like the wood is a character in As You Like It and Midsummer Night's Dream. It serves as a foil of sorts. Okay? Kent comes in. There's a gentleman. Kent and the gentleman talk back and forth. Okay? And the gentleman talks about the king, because Kent asks, where's the king? Contending with the fretful elements, bids the wind blow the earth into the sea, or swell the curled waters above the main, that things might change or cease, tears his white hair, which the impetuous blast, with eyeless rage catch in their fury, etc. He strives in his little world of man to outstorm the to and fro conflicting wind and rain. He's trying to fight the storm. Kent, who's with him? Just the fool. Kent says, I know you. Line 19. He says, I need to give you something. There is division, though as yet the face of it is covered with mutual cunning twixt Albany and Cornwall. Notice, Kent is saying, Albany and Cornwall They're not on the same page. They don't have the same goals. There's division between them. But right now, he says, as yet, the face of that division is covered with mutual cunning. Where's that mutual cunning ultimately coming from? It's Edmund. Because Edmund is the one who, we'll find out later, is seducing both wives. And he's trying to play them against each other. He's just going to stay with the one who ultimately gets the power. Doesn't matter which one. Okay? So, who have, as who have not, that their great stars throned and set high, servants who seem no less, which are to France the spies and speculations intelligent of our state. What hath been seen, either in snuffs and packings of the dukes of the hard reign, which both of them have borne, against the old kind king, or something deeper, Kent's going on and saying, France will have heard by now that the king has been thrown out. He's afraid France is going to invade. Okay? So, he tells the servant, the messenger, line 34, if on my credit you dare build so far to make your speed to Dover, there you shall find some that will thank you, making just report of how a natural and bemaddening sorrow the king hath cause to plain. To plain means to complain about. Not that the king's going to go, oh, woe is me, I am mad. He means that the king's bemaddening sorrow will be let out through his madness. I am a gentleman of blood and breeding, so he gives him a note. And he says, and if you see Cordelia, Kent is letting the messenger know, I know Cordelia and her husband are coming. Okay? If you see her, tell her. 3-2, 10:54. Lear comes in, and he yells to the storm. Blow, winds, crack your cheeks, rage, blow, you cataracts and hurricanes, spout, etc., etc. Line 8. Crack nature's molds. Those, like the kind of mold that you pour stuff into to make a particular shape. Crack nature's molds, all Germans spill at once, that makes ingrateful man. Nature's molds, wombs. Germans, sperm, seed. Let all wombs, he says, open up. Why? So that ungrateful man will not be made. Who's ungrateful man? The daughters. Notice man here is generic. It's not gendered. Okay? Oh, nuncle, court holy water in a dry house is better than this rainwater out a door. Let's go inside. Lear, nope. Nor wind, nor rain, wind, thunder, fire are my daughters. I tax not you, you elements, with unkindness. I never gave the elements kingdom, called you children. You owe me nothing. Then let fall your horrible pleasure. Here I stand, your slave, a poor, infirm, weak, despised old man. Every one of those statements is true. He's poor, he's infirm, he's weak, and he is despised. But yet I call you servile ministers that will, with two pernicious daughters, join your high engendered battles against a head so old and white as this. Lear, 37, after the fool talks. I will be the pattern of all patience. Pattern. I will be, let's go back to that Platonic idea, where you have the reality and the shadow. He says, I will be the reality of all patience. I will take it all and endure. I will say nothing. See, because to be patient really means to not moan, to not gripe, to not complain about problems. So Kent comes in, okay? And Kent's like, let's go inside. Lear, nope. 49, let the great gods that keep this dreadful pother over our heads find out their enemies now. Okay? So they keep talking back and forth. And we're told, line 67, my wits begin to turn. Lear is getting a moment of clarity. It won't last long. How do we know? He looks at the fool and says, come on, my boy. How dost, my boy? Art cold? Yeah, I'm cold too. Well, where's the straw, my fellow? Talking to Kent now. The art of our necessities is strange, and can make vile things precious. The art of our necessities is strange, and can make vile things precious. Necessity is the mother of invention. Okay? It's kind of what he's saying. Take me to your hovel. Where's the shack? And they go. And the fool gives a prophecy. Okay? You got a big thing down there about explaining what the prophecy means. 3:3. Gloucester and Edmund come in. Okay? Gloucester. Edmund, I don't like this unnatural dealing. What does he mean by unnatural? Daughters against fathers. It's not how it's supposed to be. Notice what Gloucester is completely blind to. Edmund is the one who has set him up against his brother, Gloucester's eldest son, Edgar. Totally oblivious. This, by the way, is why Gloucester has his eyes put out. Because only by being blind does he learn to see. Very biblical metaphor there. Okay. There is division between the dukes, so even Gloucester sees that there's division between Albany and Cornwall. Worse matter than that, he talks about, the king and such. 3:4, we're back to Lear and Kent and such. So Kent says, here's the hovel, go inside. And to let the fool go in, the storm is still going on. And I want to pick up with 3:4, line 7 or 6. Thou think'st 'tis much that this contentious storm invades us to the skin. So 'tis to thee. That is, it is to you that the contentious storm invades to the skin. Why? Because you think it does. Okay. What's Lear's point? It's Christ's point. As a man thinketh, so is he. We saw Hamlet say that. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern say, Denmark is a sterile promontory. Why? Because you think it's so. And Hamlet, because of your ambition. And Hamlet essentially says, as a man thinks, so is he. Well, so 'tis to thee, Lear says. But where the greater malady is fixed, the lesser is scarce felt. Where's the greater malady for Lear? You've probably experienced this before. Lear's greater malady is up here. He's distracted. He's going crazy. Therefore, he's unaware of the rain. Have you ever been doing something, you're really focused, and something happens to you physically? And all of your attention goes from what you were focused on to whatever happens to you physically? Usually great pain. Well, great pain is a wonderful magnifying glass because it takes your mind off of something else. Okay? Lear says, thou'dst shun a bear, but if thy flight lay toward the roaring sea, thou'dst meet the bear in the mouth. You'd run from a bear, but if in order to run from the bear, you had to run into the ocean and drown, you take your chances with the bear. When the mind's free, the body's delicate. When you don't have any concerns, you don't have any papers to worry about, you don't have any exams, life's going wonderfully, then what? Then the body is delicate. Then you're aware of little aches and pains, little sniffles, little headaches, little sorenesses. Little tiny things bother the body. This tempest in my mind doth from my senses take all feeling else save what beats there. It's driving him crazy. What beats there? Filial ingratitude. My bitchy daughters. That's what driving him crazy. It is not, as this mouth should tear this hand for lifting food to it. Or is it not? I will punish him. No, I will weep no more in such a night to shut me out. Okay? Come on, let's go inside. Lear. We don't have time. Go in thyself, seek thine own ease. Line 24. This tempest will not give me leave to ponder. This tempest. He's talking about this one. The one in his head. Even if I go inside, Lear is saying, I'm not going to have any ease. Okay? He exits. The fool goes into the hovel. And there's Lear. And he has this wonderful speech, which we don't have time for. So we'll talk about it on Tuesday. Pardon?
Our tragedies exam is supposed to be strictly today, too.
Yeah, I don't have it today. We'll probably finish, I don't know. We might finish Lear on Tuesday. If we do, I might give